Mr. Adams, I've been looking for
Welcome back to the channel, folks, and back to the simulated world of the Matrix. You know, I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover Path of Neo yet, as I thought it was too soon after my video on Enter the Matrix. Then I took a look at when I actually released that video and realized it dropped over 9 months ago. Man, how time flies. Despite how well received that video was, and my enjoyment making it, in retrospect I might have been a little too positive about Enter the Matrix, partially because of nostalgia, but also because I emulated it. I didn't run into the same game-breaking issues someone playing the original PS2 version would encounter. Still, while I think Enter the Matrix is okay, if kind of a janky mess, it's far from the best Matrix video game. Instead, that title belongs to 2005's Path of Neo. Or for some of you, it might be the Matrix Online, but the game's official servers have been offline for years, and I have no way to experience it since it doesn't look like there's a playable private server either. Unlike Enter the Matrix, which was a companion piece that helped flesh out the world of the Matrix, and worked to bridge the first movie to the second, while also setting up the third, Path of Neo on the other hand is a playable greatest hits of all three movies, condensing the stories of the trilogy into one playable experience, adding some original moments of its own, all the while letting you enjoy the power fantasy of playing as the One. It mostly works, except when it doesn't. But for the most part, it delivers a solid experience that shows what Enter the Matrix could have been if it wasn't rushed out to release. So let's hop in and see what made Path of Neo so good. As a heads up, I'm going to assume most of you have seen the Matrix movies, since Path of Neo basically does the same. I'm not going to get in depth about the characters or the story like I normally would in one of these videos. So here's all you need to know. Our lead, Neo, is Kung Fu Jesus. Trinity is his ass-kicking girlfriend. Morpheus is his mentor that warns him about the dangers of gentrification, and Elrod, Lord of Rivendell, is the series' main antagonist. Now let's get into it.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Huh, I wonder what happens if you pick the blue pill.
Perhaps I was wrong about you, Neo. I'm sorry you won't be joining us.
Oh, the game just ends. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Alright, let's eat the hot tamale and see how far the rabbit hole goes. Wait, the lobby shootout already? Okay, it's just a tutorial, right? What the hell am I supposed to do here? And I'm dead. Cool. Great. So I'm not sure why the hell Path of Neo starts you in the lobby fight if it's not the actual tutorial level. I guess the developers were worried players would hop off immediately if they started the game with Neo sneaking around his office, instead of flipping around doing kung fu and shooting guards, which is fair, but when most wouldn't know the controls yet and have to awkwardly work it out for themselves, it doesn't leave the best impression when starting the game. Made worse is the tutorial section is insanely long too. After dying in the lobby and getting shown quick cuts of various scenes from the opening of the first Matrix movie, we're given control of Neo again. Except this time it's during the scene at his office when agents are looking for him. In the movie this scene lasted a few minutes at most, with Neo sneaking around the agents with Morpheus guiding him, until he pussied out when it came time to climb out a window. This level on the other hand goes on for like 15 to 20 minutes, and really isn't all that exciting even if it's just a tutorial. The first half, while technically a stealth level, isn't actually about teaching you stealth. In fact, outside of the training section, you'll never have any opportunities to be stealthy. Instead, this opening level is really just about learning how to use cover. In between waddling around like he shit his pants, Neo needs to hide behind walls to avoid getting spotted by agents or the cops. Once he makes it to the ledge outside, it then turns into a platforming tutorial. Neo slowly ascends scaffolding, dodging the cops, and a quick jump scare from Agent Smith. I'm not sure if it applies when a cop grabs you, but if you don't avoid Smith, you're given the option to just skip the rest of this level and have Neo arrested like he was in the movie. If you continue, after Neo reaches the roof of the building, he needs to start working his way down it. The remainder of the level is just Neo outrunning the cops until he reaches the bottom floor and escapes with Trinity. Fast forwarding through more movie moments, Neo is freed from the Matrix, and the next level has him going through a combat simulation to learn Kung Fu.
Get some rest. You're going to need it.
For what?
Your training.
Unlike Enter the Matrix, whose combat was basically just flailing around, in Path of Neo it's considerably more polished. You've got your standard strike attack, flying kick, grapple, and dodge. But as you grow in strength, you unlock powerful, insanely over-the-top combos that really make you feel like you're the one. Like, look at how I beat the ever-living shit out of this guy. However, it'll take a while until you unlock Neo's full potential, as his better combos are slowly unlocked over the course of the game. Usually after these scripted sequences where he levels up by absorbing more data, or whatever the hell that's happening here. And in between levels 2, where you're taken to the Path of Neo screen and can spend a skill point to unlock or upgrade a combo. Also, most enemies, especially agents, won't sit there and eat an ass whooping either, as like Neo, they can block and parry your attacks, stun you, and unload their own devastating combos. On top of all that, your better moves can only be used by activating focus/bullet time, which you can charge up by taking out enemies or finding these yellow icons in a level. So combat in the Path of Neo strikes a nice balance in feeling powerful, but still offering a challenge that doesn't devolve into button mashing until everyone in your way is dead. The Kung Fu level ends with a small tournament, capped with a boss fight against a martial arts master who is apparently a huge fan of Guy Fieri.
I knew you would come. Your blade skills are legendary. Today, you will learn that mine are as well.
Neo's next training sequence sends him to ancient Japan to fight an old legendary samurai, and serves as an introduction to melee weapons. Melee weapons do more damage than your fists, have a long range that makes them great at crowd control, can be thrown at enemies, and have their own flashy combos too. The only downside is that they do break after extended use, which really isn't much of a deal breaker, as most levels that give you melee weapons either treat it like a power-up to wipe out a group of foes quickly, or pepper enough of them around the environment so you can quickly replace a weapon after it breaks.
Trinity. What are you doing here?
Exercise.
This is not your fight.
Looks tough.
My sword will find you.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah, I should probably get this out of the way, but out of our 3 leads from the trilogy, only Lawrence Fishburne reprised his iconic role. Instead of Carrie Ann Moss, Commander Shepard herself, Jennifer Hale, voices Trinity, while Andrew Bowen, aka Johnny Cage, takes over the Kung Fu Jesus role of Neo from Keanu Reeves. Since Path of Neo isn't a movie tie-in game, and came out several years after the trilogy was over, it's not really surprising most of our leads weren't involved with the game. For the most part, the replacements and the voice acting in general are fine. It can just feel jarring sometimes, as the game will use scenes from the movie in between levels with their original actors, before shifting to in-game cutscenes voiced by the replacements. Continuing the tutorials, the next level has Neo chasing around a Japanese ghost while practicing more of his melee moves, and learning a wall run. And the one after that is essentially a final exam for everything you've learned about using melee, with Neo's operator Link challenging him to beat several waves of enemies within a time limit, and to outdo Morpheus' high score. Also, before anyone says it, I know that the operator for the Nebuchadnezzar in the first movie was Tank, and that he was replaced in the following movies by Link due to a falling out with his actor, Marcus Chong. But the game basically treats Tank, and by extension his brother Dozer, like they don't exist, and that Link was there the whole time. Considering how unhinged Marcus Chong became after getting fired from the Matrix, I can't really fault the developers or the Wachowskis for not wanting to deal with him in any capacity, even for such a minor role in a video game. Though he may have been too busy to bring back due to his role in The Crow, Wicked Prayer. I'm desperately resisting the urge to talk about that movie, but if you've never seen it, do yourself a favor and rent it off Amazon. It's dog shit like all the other Crow sequels in the reboot, but god, it's a fever dream of a movie that is mind-boggling to watch. On the topic of movies, the next level is one huge homage to arguably John Woo's best film. It's Hard-Boiled. This whole tea house level is one giant homage to the opening scene of Hard-Boiled, with Neo playing the role of Inspector Tequila, which is just perfect because this level is all about shooting and bullet time. In Enter the Matrix, you'd automatically lock onto the nearest target while shooting, with the option for manual first-person aiming for sniping or trying to shoot an explosive. I thought it was serviceable, but the game's wonky camera could disrupt the action and screw up the lock-on. Meanwhile, bullet time leaned more towards being stylish and practical, at most providing better accuracy for any guns with a high rate of fire, and letting you cartwheel away from bullets. Both mechanics are considerably better here in Path of Neo. For one, you can manually lock on enemies now, and switch between targets, so you're not at the mercy of the auto-lock and the camera to take out foes. You've got some more firearm variety, ammo is more plentiful, you can still pick up guns off defeated foes, but you can also disarm them too, making it much easier to even out the odds even if you find yourself empty-handed against a squad of SWAT officers or whatever. As for bullet time, while you can still pull off some stylish moves, it has some more versatility here. It can be used defensively to dodge bullets, parry around melee attacks, leap farther or run up walls for platforming, and even offensively when Neo becomes the One, and uses his focus like the Force to block and fire back projectiles. A lot more thought has been put into how to use it to benefit gameplay as opposed to just having it because it was in the movies.
I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
This is a sparring program.
The tutorials finally come to an end with a sparring session against Morpheus, and a quick race. While I appreciate the work and creativity the developers put into the tutorial levels, especially the tea house, altogether those levels run almost 2 hours. That's a fourth of the game's entire runtime. I understand the need to pad out a game's length, but it makes the beginning of the game a slog, especially on multiple playthroughs when you want to get to the good stuff as fast as possible. Still, what comes after does make Path of Neo worth replaying, for the most part anyhow. Now that Neo is fully trained up and ready to fight the good fight, the next level takes us to that scene in the movie where the crew are trapped and ambushed by the agents. Neo gets separated from the others and is on his own to navigate the constantly changing labyrinth of the rundown building, while also fighting the cops. It's a good level. It expands on an idea introduced in the movie where the Matrix can force a change in the simulation to corner our heroes, while also showing that the cops who are helping the agents are just pawns. As like Neo, they're lost and baffled by the constantly changing rooms. Also, I like the bigger focus on exploration for this level, since you have to bust through walls to navigate the building, and can occasionally find some extra weapons or ammo while looking around. After Morpheus stays behind to fight off Agent Smith, the others escape the area down into the sewers. This level introduces a new gimmick, using detonation packs to blow up gates and platforms in order to proceed. This is also where we get our first fight against an agent. Befitting their juggernaut status, you can't do shit against this guy. He takes no damage from your attacks, dodges all your bullets, and if you toss him off the platform, he'll just hop back up a second later. You just have to survive long enough for Trinity and the others to save you. After the sewers, APOC and Switch get killed by Cypher in the real world. Don't worry, despite it not being shown, or even mentioned, Cypher gets his comeuppance and is killed off screen by Tony Soprano, as revenge for killing his prized racehorse Pi Oh My. Jacking back into the Matrix, we're brought back into the lobby fight from the opening of the game. Except Trinity is here with us this time, and we actually know what to do. This section is also timed. We need to clear the level before the truth serum in Morpheus' veins takes effect, and he gives up the keys to Zion to the agents. That same timer is in effect on the next level on the rooftop. Along with fighting more SWAT team fodder, we'll have another agent to deal with. This time we stand a much better chance, as instead of running away, Neo can do that iconic lean back pose from the movie to dodge his bullets, which distracts the agents and makes him vulnerable to Trinity's gunfire. Unfortunately, he'll just respawn anytime you kill him by taking over the body of any surviving SWAT officer, so you need to clear out all the red shirts and their backup before taking out the agent for good. And after an extended turret section on a helicopter, we'll rescue Morpheus and get him the hell out of there.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
We'll then get the subway fight between Neo and Agent Smith, which plays out mostly the same as the previous agent fight. Only difference is we have to end the encounter by stunning Smith while he's standing on the train tracks, so he's hit by a subway car. Afterwards, Path to Neo takes a weird turn, as instead of rushing to look for a phone so he can exit the Matrix, like the movie, Neo gets sucked into a glitch and ends up on some kind of ghost train. The sequence is brief, and it's basically a puzzle level, but it ruins the smooth pacing the game had since the end of the tutorial. It's not set up, comes out of nowhere, and is pretty much never referenced after the fact. It's not completely out of place. Neo deals with almost the exact same situation in the Matrix Revolutions, but it's just pure padding here. Unfortunately, this ends up being the start of a trend with Path to Neo, as some of the new stuff it does is good. Others are so poorly thought out that it drags down the experience. Moving on, after escaping the ghost train by suplexing it, Neo runs around trying to reach the phone to exit the Matrix, gets killed by Agent Smith, comes back as the One, fights 3 agents at once, before finally exploding Smith and reaching the end of the first Matrix movie.
Between the coming of the One and the end of the war,
Is it over?
Neo's presence within the Matrix sparked a new exodus of potentials.
Freeze it.
But because they were unable to stop Neo, the machines turned their attention to those within their grasp.
Instead of hopping right into The Matrix Reloaded though, the game instead explores what Neo was up to, in between the gap of time where he flew through the sky like Superman while Rage Against the Machine is playing, and that meeting at the beginning of The Matrix Reloaded. Neo was out there looking for people like him, potentials, people not fully awakened but slowly growing to understand the nature of the Matrix, either witnessing abnormalities about it firsthand, or capable of manipulating it in some way similar to Neo. Think like Aang the Last Airbender here, who taught Neo how to bend a spoon in the first movie, or Dan Davis from the Animatrix anthology, whose story I opened with in the last video I did on the Matrix. Debated doing that again here, but part of me kinda wants to do a more dedicated video on the Animatrix, even if I'm not really a film review channel. Can't promise that it'll actually happen, as it was an absolute nightmare editing around Warner Bros. Copyright claims for the little footage of the movie I used last time, but comment down below if that's something you guys would be interested in. Also hit that like button while you're down there, and subscribe if you're new. While Path to Neo is a fairly linear game, these sets of missions with the potentials and a different set of missions after give you the freedom to tackle them in any order you want. First mission I chose was The Key, where Neo needs to save a girl who used a magic key to enter an off-limits club controlled by the Merovingian. Not much to say about this one. It's implied the girl got her key from the keymaker, you know, this guy, but it's never explained why. The mission boils down to protecting her from a group of werewolf exile programs, led by Debo from Friday. Next mission was The Healer. This time Neo needs to protect an herbalist with healing powers as he slowly wanders around Chinatown. The following mission, The Security Guard, is actually kinda interesting. The guy we're protecting this time is a former cop Agent Smith was possessing at the time he killed Neo. Not only did this guy not die when Neo exploded Smith, he actually remembers being controlled and killing Neo. There's a spark for a fascinating idea here, one that explores blue pills as more than just NPCs Neo and the Resistance have no choice but to take out. It's just a spark though. Path of Neo doesn't do much with the idea, or Neo's part in the security guard's story, as it's implied the only reason he even remembers what happened was because Neo exploded Smith, possibly imprinting some part of himself onto the guard that turned him into a potential. Maybe the Matrix Online did more with that idea, but let's move on. The last two potentials are a librarian who found an infinite spawning book in her library, and a silent painter who unlocked his mind. He's so powerful that he can take agents and Neo in a fight. Really wish they expanded on that guy. This will finally lead us into the events of The Matrix Reloaded, which I'm going to speedrun. First is that opening scene where Neo fights upgraded agents. Then it's another set of missions where you're given the freedom to tackle them in any order. This time, Neo has to help the ship captains who are at the meeting, along with Morpheus and Trinity, escape pursuing agents. Captain Niobe from Enter the Matrix makes a return here, but there's no sign of Ghost. Man, did Anthony Wong and the Wachowskis beef on set or something? And that's why his role was so reduced after Enter the Matrix? Or did they just not know what to do with him? I would have preferred seeing him get more screen time over the kid or Link's wife Z in Revolutions. Well, whatever. After helping all the captains, we got an extended fight sequence with the Oracle's bodyguard Seraph, followed by the iconic fight against the army of Smiths. As fun as this fight is, it loses a lot of impact without the music that played during this scene in the movie. At the very least, you can actually win, instead of running away like Neo was forced to. By tossing the various Agent Smiths into the surrounding apartment buildings, you'll cause them to collapse on top of them after doing enough damage, eventually finishing off the entire army. I'm going to skip over the fight with the exiles at the Merovingian chateau, to instead focus on what comes after when you end up in his sex dungeon. Neo bumps into this goth chick with screaming powers who is being held captive. It's not really explained who or what she is, but she's an exiled program, and referred to as the Witch. You don't really help her escape exactly. More so, you both kinda help each other as you try to escape independently. During this little jaunt, Neo gets thrown into this trippy, gravity-defying area straight out of an M.C. Escher painting. And after bumping into the Witch again, you'll start fighting these kung fu ants, which, like Neo, will probably have you questioning what the fuck is going on. Maybe it's a Bible reference, or a literal interpretation of the Matrix being infested with bugs. Either way, this whole section is fucking annoying. First, in order to proceed through the level, you have to find the right door that takes you to the next section. Guess wrong and it'll transport you to a random area in the level. I have no idea if there's a way to find the right door, but as far as I can tell it's completely randomized. That's not so bad though. The ants on the other hand are. These fuckers fight like agents, soaking up damage, blocking your attacks, and dishing out serious hurt to you. What makes them worse than our friends with shades is that we have to finish them off with fire, otherwise they'll just respawn after killing them, which is easy enough when you get your hands on a torch. Otherwise you have to make do with these pots of fire you need to throw them into. That's the bigger issue, as you can't really aim and toss them towards the fire. You have to fight them while facing in the direction of the fire, and use a combo move or flying kick to hopefully launch them into the flames. It's super hit and miss, as it feels like the camera always forces Neo to snap in every direction but where I'm aiming. And to make this whole thing worse, it just goes on forever. Every time I go through the right door and think I'm done with this bullshit, boom, another weird ass room with more ants to fuck up my day. There's more bullshit after you leave the MC Escher world, but I'm going to fast forward things so we can reach the end of the video. After escaping the Merovingian sex dungeon, Neo and Morpheus team up to protect the Keymaker from Agent Smith, taking us to some weird TV level, then a church, and for some reason Congress, where gaming's old archenemy, Jack Thompson, is giving a speech about violent video games.
And I firmly believe that these awful, horrible, violent video games are offensive to our most basic values. What the hell are you boys doing?
Man, remember the days when gamers from all walks of life put aside their differences and united in their hatred of that ass clown? Better days. Better days. Finally, we're taken to the epic battle between Neo and Agent Smith in the rain. It starts off well enough, though annoyingly a cutscene plays every time you or Agent Smith gets knocked into the wall of Smiths. After doing enough damage, Neo and Smith take to the skies to continue the fight. And, it's less the aerial fights of, say, Dragon Ball Z Budokai, and more like really awkward air jousting. Once the two of them are back on the ground, it's one final round of fighting, and unlike the movie where Neo needed to lose in order to defeat Smith, the game opts for a much different idea.
Hi, I'm Andy Wachowski.
And I'm Larry Wachowski.
Or rather, these are the digital projections of our mental selves.
First of all, congrats on reaching the final stage of this game. You kick ass.
Yes, we salute your excellence on the gaming field.
Now, the real reason we're here is to discuss the big problem we faced in turning these 3 movies into a video game. You see, at this point in the story, Neo stands on the verge of Satori, ready to resolve the paradox of choice and choicelessness, of free will versus fate, but that can only be achieved through an act of surrender, which occurs after he has abandoned the perspectival nature of truth, accepting the totality of present consciousness, which ultimately allows an evolutionary transition, transcending the Cartesian dilemma through the emergence of delimited spirit, which then provides the world with a choice of a third path, the path of Neo, the path of peace.
You promised you wouldn't do that.
Shit. Sorry.
I think what my brother's trying to say is, at this point, it's martyr time. Now, maybe that works in a movie, but in a video game, the Jesus thing is, well...
lame.
Really lame. If you're like us, then right now you're ready for 15 minutes of sweaty-palmed, button-pushing action to kick the crap out of some big badass boss.
So we suggested to Shiny that we change the ending.
We thought it would be cool after Smith rose up screaming, "It's my world." The other Smiths jumped onto him, merging into one massive monster Mega Smith.
So if you're ready, it's time for a little Hulk versus Galactus action.
Good luck!
You'll need it.
And enjoy enlightenment!
You know, I love that the Wachowskis interrupt the game to poke fun at their own movies, and how the ending for Revolutions doesn't translate well to a game. I even love this stupidly awesome idea of all the Smiths combining to form a giant Mega Smith made out of debris. But holy shit, this final boss fight sucks so much ass. They were not lying about it taking 15 minutes to take him down either. It's basically a long, repetitive slog of dodging his attacks, waiting for him to drop his defense, and then Neo damaging him by flying through his body. Over and over and over again. It occasionally shakes things up when Neo gets hit and is flung across the city. Here you have to dodge or punch through the debris he tosses your way, shaking off any regular Smiths that land on ya before waiting for him to drop his defense, so you can fly through him again and close the distance. The final fight would have been fine if it just didn't go on for so long, maybe like 5 hits to finish him. Still, despite the lackluster final boss, Path of Neo manages to redeem itself with its ending, taking a page from one of the best movies of all time, D2 The Mighty Ducks. The game ends with the people of Zion celebrating Neo ending the war of machines, while We Are the Champions by Queen plays. I'd love to play it for you, but I love not getting a copyright claim a lot more. And that was The Matrix Path of Neo. So yeah, it might not be a perfect game, but it's a damn fun one. And for fans of the trilogy, it's probably the best Matrix game we've ever gotten. Compared to Enter the Matrix, this one is a huge step up in just about every way. The gameplay is tighter, the mechanics more refined, and it actually feels like the developers had time to finish it, instead of rushing it to hit a movie release. It manages to squeeze in all 3 films without feeling bloated or overwhelming, and it sprinkles in enough original ideas to make the experience feel fresh, even if not all those ideas landed. The potential subplot was an interesting addition that sadly never reaches its full potential, no pun intended. And while I appreciate the idea behind the Merovingian sex dungeon, and the MC Escher ant world, that whole section felt like a frustrating acid trip I couldn't wake up from. Not to mention, Megasmith had the makings of something epic, but it ended up dragging its feet hard. Cool in concept, boring in execution. But despite the missteps, I genuinely had a blast with this one. There's a clear love for the source material baked into every moment. And even when the game trips over its own ambition, I respect that it tried to do more than just copy-paste scenes from the movies. It's an unapologetically weird, creative, and often hilarious tribute to the trilogy, and that alone makes it worth checking out. If Enter the Matrix was a janky side story you sit through just to say you did, Path of Neo is the reward, the power fantasy we always wanted. It might not be the one, but it's close enough that I can't help but recommend it to anyone curious to revisit the digital reign one more time. And it's a considerably better end for the Matrix franchise than whatever the hell Resurrections was trying to be. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, folks. And special thanks to my channel members and patrons for supporting the channel, including Alfred Correa, Bailey Morrison, Brad Taylor, Chicken D Samurai, Conyer, Eric Lee, Miles Garrett, Skillfuse, SR Powa, Thunder Muffin, and Reckless Nerd. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so for as low as $3 a month, which will give you early access to videos, and occasionally uncut videos when I'm forced to censor things for YouTube. Higher tiers will land your name in the credits, or you can receive a verbal shoutout at the highest tier. After the work on the Days Gone video, it was fun to do something smaller and less serious. I want to try to keep that balance going to avoid overworking myself, and ensure I can hit that 2 video a month schedule I've been maintaining. The next video is going to be on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. This one is long overdue, as I first brought up taking a look at it in the Sleeping Dogs video I did. From there, I might do The Suffering next, and thanks to the poll I ran, the big video in June will be on the Saboteur. That one I'm really looking forward to cover, though it's going to be a headache to edit and censor so YouTube doesn't hit me with a demonetization. With summer around the corner, I'm looking forward to focusing more on the channel, and I think I'm ready to hop back into streaming again too, so keep an eye out for an announcement about that. Despite all the drama surrounding it, justified and overblown, I'm hyped for the release of the Switch 2. Kinda wish they had more original first-party titles launching with it, but the new Donkey Kong game looks pretty fire. Also, with its specs, I got the sneaking suspicion we're going to get a GTA game on it soon. Maybe that GTA 4 remaster / port I theorized in a poll. Or GTA 5. Again. But we'll see. Again, thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and comment down below. Did you enjoy the Matrix movies? Which game is your favorite? Are you buying a Switch 2? Leave your thoughts down below. We're inching closer and closer to 100k subs and that silver plaque, so if you're new to the channel, I'd love your support and if you subscribed. Check out the recommended video here at the end, or my video on Enter the Matrix. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.